Denver Broncos Mile High View, no commercials, no bullshit. I'm going to do my audio while I drive down the road. I've been watching the film offensively for the Denver Broncos. So this is going to be a whose fault is it film study. When you hear people on the squawk box that, told you that the Denver Broncos were going to be 3 Super Bowls minimum out of 5, when these same people start talking about, well, we have to fire the head coach because we're stuck with the quarterback, you need to think about this for a second. If you're having to fire a coach after 8 games because you're stuck with the quarterback after 8 games, you really need to do a organizational makeover. This obviously, just by that statement alone, the front office definitely needs to be the shakeup. Obviously, has to be at the front office to even be entertaining that kind of a thought. The Denver Broncos released Tyreek Cleveland, which I don't know what he did, but I will say this: watching the film, there's problems across the board. That is for the offense. Now, this is strictly an offensive critique, film study. And I just want to say something about this defense. After 8 weeks, I believe that, a lot of teams aren't very far from the Denver Broncos, quite frankly. Yes, they're ranked 32nd or whatever with points, but they're, looking at the way teams have been playing the Denver Broncos. Take, for instance, the Tennessee Titans, who completely reinvented themselves just to play the Broncos as a pass-happy team. Now, the theory me and Colby have is that they wanted to rest Henry, or they wanted to limit, the amount of touches he was getting, kind of give him a break, figuring that the Broncos, it's a team begging to be thrown on, which they are. But the problem for the Titans is they're not a team that's they're just not a passing team. Uncharacteristically, too, they racked up more penalties, so they miraculously won the game despite, trying to be their own worst enemy. What I see, and it's not just when they play the Broncos, I think you got a lot of offenses out there cutting their nose off despite their face. So what did I see in this film? I'm just going to give a kind of a brief cap, is that there are problems everywhere. Yeah, there's problems with Russell Wilson, that's for sure. There's problem with the offensive line. They were getting their asses handed to them in this game. It wasn't all on them. There were play calling issues, but I would say that by and large, that wasn't the biggest issue. What I see is the biggest issue for me, from what I'm seeing. I think the Denver Broncos are basically offensively and defensively, but offensively in particular, are a victim of having a media machine telling them everything is going to be just fine. You're going to the playoffs, you're going to the Super Bowl. You really don't have to work all that hard. Russell Wilson's going to raise all the ships. And I'm saying this to the people who are signed for big money. It seems like nobody really has to really put forth any effort, and it's showing out on the field. What I see can be fixed, problems that can be fixed. But I think you have people on this team that, aren't going to look at themselves in the mirror, watch film. This is a team that needs to watch film and try to get better. I don't see a coaching fix changing that. I see what is needed is a cultural change at the very top from the front office. That's got to get removed. So you cut all this PR out, telling these players how great they are, so they don't have to really do much. Really, you can see it in the film. It's just sloppiness, a lacklusterness. They're not, looking at themselves in the mirror and spending time in film, the way it looks, and trying to get better. It's just like they're out there, and that's about it. Out of the car, hopefully this will sound a lot better now. I'm going to go through this series. It's going to be all oopsie daisies, no highlights. We're going to find out what went wrong. And from the first quarter on into to the fourth quarter, it will be all the oops pass plays. I'm not going to get into the running. The running was basically non-existent, but I'll say this, that the Broncos did try to stick to it as much as they could. But anyway, so let's get started. Here we have it should be just an easy throw to Dulcich. This is a completely bad throw on Russell Wilson's part. There's nothing more you can say about it. All right, on this play, we're going in sequence, first quarter to fourth. On this play, demonstrates what I've said to Colby, that what I've noticed is that Russell Wilson he has tendencies to be a first-read quarterback, and especially when it comes to Courtland Sutton. When he wants to throw to Courtland Sutton, he just locks. He's thinking that coming out of the huddle. And this is where, he missed a big play right in the middle of the field. It's not because he's too short. It's just that he's just locked. He's really locked on this idea of throwing to Courtland Sutton, who's totally covered, and obviously he has it thrown out of bounds. But you look in the middle here, he's got a guy open, and this could be a really big play. Just totally missed it. Well, me and Colby have talked about the fact that the Denver Broncos basically are without a part of their playbook, and a part of that playbook is screenplays. And the reason why they're not very good at screenplays as an offense is that nobody can block on this offense. They have no blocking receivers. And you're going to see probably one of the worst attempts at blocking I think I've seen. Greg Dulcich has, during his draft, one of his knocks is guy just can't block. And this is very apparent in this play. This screenplay, like many screenplays we've shown so many times, is going to go nowhere because this is just a pathetic blocking performance by Dulcich. All right, when me and Colby discuss receivers going to the second level, on this play I want to focus on Courtland Sutton. Now, we've complained that problem with the receivers in Denver, they can't get to the second level. So on this play, we have Courtland Sutton running his route, and what he needs to do, if he's going to be paid the money that he's getting, he needs to do what Russell Wilson's former receivers would do, and that's go to the second level. Now, you have Russell Wilson bailing because of breakdown in the offensive line, and he bails. What Courtland Sutton has to do, what he's doing now, and he can't do, is stop. He's stopping. He's not paying attention. He's late to realize. And what he has to do is he has to go with the flow. He has to bail with and go with his quarterback, shielding the defender. He's behind the defender. He can't do that. He's got to stay ahead of the defender, shielding himself, giving his quarterback some place to throw the ball. That's the difference between Courtland Sutton and a Metcalf. A Metcalf is going to keep continuing with his quarterback with that rollout, and he's going to shield that defender, stay a step ahead so that Russell Wilson would have an out. Now, I just want to say, Russell Wilson, this is a three-pronged problem. Obviously, the offensive line breaks down, and also, obviously, Courtland Sutton isn't paying attention. He's behind the eight ball. It's too late. So that's the second thing that went wrong. Now, the third thing that went wrong is Wilson, at that point, should just get rid of the football. You're not out of college anymore. You can't outrun these guys. They're going to tackle you. You got to start learning how to get rid of the ball. So offensive line, Courtland Sutton not going to the second level, and Russell Wilson just hanging on to the ball until he gets sacked. So all this kind of stuff has to get cleaned up. I really don't have much faith in Courtland Sutton changing. I don't, do we have faith Russell Wilson's going to change and the offensive line's going to change? These are the kind of things that is going to keep this team from really doing anything, I think, in the future. I just, it's pretty bleak. Okay, now to make my point, we have Hinton. He's going to go to the second level. What we mean by that is we got Russell Wilson bailing out, but what you'll see, unlike Courtland Sutton, not aware and behind and, basically just no good. You see Hinton and Russell Wilson together. Just like choreographed. They're just linked together. He's making himself available. Now, granted, you're going to say, well, this receiver is way off. Well, that's if you watch Metcalf, you watch these higher receivers. If Courtland Sutton was paying attention and kind of working through that, getting through, seeing keeping his eyes on his quarterback, seeing that he's bailing out, and, not being behind, he would be in sync with his quarterback, just like Hinton is. Hinton is in sync with his quarterback and makes himself available. So this is an easy throw. This is getting, going to the second level. This is, going beyond your route. Results in a completion. As a special note with this play, the left tackle breaks down, but these offensive line breakdowns were happening off and on through the whole game because there's no consistency in the offensive line, which translates in your quarterback seeing ghosts, not trusting if the play's going to develop, and that's what just good enough on the offensive line will get you. All right, here's a play I'd simply call just plain stupid. Okay, so you're going to convert 33-year-old Russell Wilson into a running back to shoot the B gap. Now, nobody in these other platforms will tell you that there is no offensive coordinator. I guess players are becoming coaches. They're coaching themselves. I really don't know what's going on at Dove Valley. You have Vance Joseph 2.0 in Hackett, a couple of analytic guys, some assistants to the assistants. It's really no wonder why this offense is in the state they are. I mean, this play to me just screams just how dumb it's getting at Dove Valley. So yeah, you have Russell Wilson with multiple tears in muscles, and you're asking him to convert to a running back, and no, just stupid. This is just Dove Valley stupidity right here on full display. I preach and Colby preach. We talk about situational awareness. A playbook is, is a guideline for what needs to be done. There has to, again, be out there a situational awareness. On this play here, we have another bad throw by Russell Wilson, another incompletion, another drive killer. Now this involves Greg Dulcich. Now, if his quarterback is under duress, he'll want to turn and sit in his route, but his quarterback is not. So the route is supposed to be thrown right directly in front of Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson his offensive line has been breaking down on a consistent basis, and now remember, it's only the second quarter. It's and like I say, when you have these consistent breakdowns, the quarterbacks see ghosts. Now, this is on Russell Wilson because he's got to allow for Greg Dulcich to position himself in front of that defender, but Russell Wilson doesn't wait. He has time. He's not under any duress. He just needs his receiver to get in a position where he's blocking that defender instead of they're on a collision course and he throws right at the collision course, which that's not where you want to throw the football. But, because this guy's been under duress, seeing ghosts, you get that trigger happiness in quarterbacks. It's not any one quarterback, any quarterback, even Tom Brady. He's got his offensive line busting down all the time. He's going to be doing the same thing. He's going to not be timing those throws right, and this is definitely a timing issue here. He has time. There is no excuse for him not to hold on to this ball. Now, this is a time you do want to hold on to the ball, just enough so that Dulcich can get his body blocked, and he's blocking out that defender to follow him. Just keeps on his route. He's blocked it, but Wilson doesn't let this thing develop. So this is on Russell Wilson, but again, it has to be stressed when the offensive line is breaking down consistently. It really gives these quarterbacks, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, I may have to get it off, and you get them in that mindset. So again, everything revolves around the offensive and defensive lines. All right, I'm going to dispel the myth, and it is a myth. It's a bumper sticker slogan, nothing more. Quarterbacks raise the ships of offensive lines. Okay, this will clearly, these two plays, the last one we just saw and this one, will clearly dispel that. Now, can quarterbacks and offensive lines work in a symbiotic relationship where they're both helping each other out? Yes. Quarterbacks do not raise the ships by themselves of offensive linemen. Lie, lie, lie. Now, if your offensive line is a bunch of boobs, I don't care who the quarterback is. The quarterback is going to see ghosts. He's not going to have confidence in that the play is going to go through. He's going to want to try to get rid of the ball quicker than he should, which we saw in the last play, or he's going to want to hold on to the ball, which we're going to see in this play. Now, this is on Russell Wilson, but the caveat is the importance of the offensive lines, that you have the best offensive line you could possibly put out there for your quarterback. So, even when things go wrong, they know, most likely they'll take care of the situation. It's just up to you and your receivers now, in the case of passing, that is, obviously, that you guys will be able to take care of business. If they're under duress, your receivers will sit. You'll be expecting that. So, and it's all a symbiotic relationship, but it all hinges on the offensive line. Because this offensive line, quite frankly, got its ass handed to it throughout the day. Now, you got 2 good plays by the offensive line. Okay, and granted, Russell Wilson's got to take advantage of it, but, it's kind of hard to know whether or not this, hindsight is 20/20 at the moment. You don't know if this thing's really going to break down or not. So, just with that said, this is a clear-cut situation that he doesn't throw the football, but there has to be context behind the no-throw. Again, people like to put out bumper sticker slogans, quarterbacks raise ships. Just, you got to get away from all the nonsense. And I'm going to show you film here. Film speaks volumes. This is a play design that should go to Dulcich. If again, Wilson's allowed to read the field. I just think that the guy sees ghosts and he's not sure if he's going to. And again, this may explain some of this one-read throw of his. But he strongly believes that this offensive line is breaking down. It really isn't. It's holding up. He has no reason to bail on this. He should have, he has time. He could get this as a completion to Greg Dulcich. But I just want to show this to make the point. Quarterbacks do not raise ships of offensive lines. They work in symbiosis. They can do that. But as quarterbacks do not on their own shoulders, improve the offensive line. Either you have a good offensive line or you don't. And then they have this symbiotic relationship to the quarterback and the offensive line. But quite frankly, it's the offensive lines that raise the ship of the quarterback, bar none. This next play that goes wrong is wrong on a multitude of levels. And I really think this play, it really sums it all up, in my opinion, of why the Broncos, offensively anyway, probably as a team as a whole even, why they're in the state that they're in. All right, the cascade of issues starts with Billy Turner, 75. Now, the Broncos have Billy Turner on IR right now, listed as 57, but I believe that's a typo, just saying, for the fact checkers out there. This is Billy Turner before the ankle roll-up. I haven't even got that far yet into the game. Billy Turner basically gets smoked instantaneously on this play, and quite frankly, he was getting smoked pretty much until right up to the ankle roll-up. The first issue here, believe it or not, has to do with the front office. If the best you could do was get a guy that gets smoked, number one, and is on the IR the most of the season, number two, you have a front office issue, Mr. Walton. No ifs, no ands, no buts about it. Second, if your offensive line looks this good, and this isn't anything new to this year. This has been going on now since the end of the Peyton Manning era. And somebody at the top, this is a front office issue. Somebody at the front office totally has been putting this offensive line off. That's another issue, front office. Third front office issue is you go and pay $250 million for a quarterback and you don't even have offensive line support. Mr. Walton, you absolutely, this isn't new, Mr. Walton. You have had a front office issue out there for far too long. You better get that addressed because this thing is never going to take care of itself. And it's an issue that doesn't have any accountability to it. That's just to start this whole thing off. Okay, so since Turner is beat so bad, so fast, this is what didn't happen. Russell Wilson actually gets all three read receivers open. He has Hinton open on his first read. I believe Tomlinson is the tight end. He's open. And Tyreek Cleveland gets open for the deep ball. All three are open, but it's not even, two of them aren't doable. The deep ball and the intermediate throw into Tomlinson is in no way doable. Now, what Russell Wilson has to do, and he could do, even though and I'm not even sure because this offensive lineman is beat so fast. He's got to get, if he can, he's got to get that throw to Hinton as fast as he can. He's got to get that off. He's got to get the ball off to Hinton because that's his only hope. But instead, he puts his head down, tucks, and runs. Again, because the right tackle got beat so bad, it's easy for me to sit here and say that when the guy gets beat so bad. And this is, again, why Russell Wilson has no confidence in that any of these plays are going to develop. This is a problem from the front office down. And a quarterback that would be more apt to run. And, I think that he could have got the ball out, but it's just, this is just, oh, God, what do I even say about this? It's bad on a multitude of levels. Okay, I don't want to belabor this, but this goes along to the front office conversation. There's a lot of talk going on about, the coach. After 8 years, have we had enough of this already? Honestly, we're not at the point where we have to start looking at the front office that's been there for 8 years. We know who we're talking about. We know the people. We know the guy that's been there. I mean, this clown show. I mean, I'm just showing this play, but was a whole day of this stuff with this guy. It's not that just we said don't sign this guy from the very beginning, but to re-sign him. I mean, honestly, you can't figure out. We have a front office issue. I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, since the Titans were going to be generous in this game and gift the Broncos a trip to the red zone due to a roughing the passer, which was legit. It was a legit call. The Broncos have been getting a lot of gifts from teams all season long. And we'll go and see here why they don't ever capitalize. This is one reason. There's tons of them, but... So on this play, the offensive line once again breaks down. No big surprise there. This time, the guilty party is Dalton Risner. He, right here, could be called for holding. It is a takedown all the way. Let's just keep it real. I mean, he definitely could have been called for holding and really should have been. All Russell Wilson can do is really the one read. He doesn't have time. His one read is Gordon. He's not even ready because this broke down so fast. The running back, just throwing a little hitch or whatever is to the running back. I mean, it's already getting shut down. And Wilson, because Risner is taking this guy down. If Risner doesn't take this guy down Garrett Bowles style, he's going to clobber Russell Wilson. And this guy just got the shit beat out of him in this game. Oh, it's good enough. It's just good enough. God. Rob Walton, would you go to a surgeon when everybody's saying, well, the surgeon's good enough? Would you do that? I don't get it. I just don't get it. I really don't. Russell Wilson doesn't know if he's going to get clobbered or not, so the throw is completely off cue because he doesn't know that Reisner's going to tackle him to the ground. Other than that, he could settle down and throw it to him. But offenses raise quarterback ships. It's not the other way around. That's all I can say. So I have a disclaimer to make is that number 75 is Quinn Bailey. I'd forgotten about him. I wasn't sure that Billy Turner was knocked out of the game in the first half. I didn't look on the practice squad because 75 was active, so I wasn't expecting him to be on the practice squad. And they have Fleming on the active roster, so I'm assuming that Fleming will be replacing Bailey next week. I guess that's why it is the way it is. So I apologize for that, but quite frankly, the point in the video stands because Turner wasn't doing all that much better, and the fact is that he's probably played less than Jawan James. I mean, let's just be honest. And the fact is there's no depth on this offensive line. So and this goes all the way back 8 years. So all the points that I made in the film are legit. They stand. Even though, okay, it wasn't Turner, it was Bailey, okay? But the point doesn't change. And that, again, just shows it doesn't really change. And that's is the point about the front office, because nothing's changed in 8 years. Now, there's a lot of theories being thrown out there. These wild ideas like getting Brian Schottenheimer head coach. And it really comes down to, when you listen to all the theories out there and by the people that said this is going to be a playoff team, 3 Super Bowls minimum out of 5, and reality has finally set in, and they can't escape that reality. These same people, what did they offer? What's their solution? More quick fixes. Oh, well, maybe if Russell Wilson gets out of shotgun and goes under center, that's going to change everything. Look, I'm showing you film. We're all exploring this film. We're seeing what's going on. I don't need to theorize. This is the same kind of garbage we've seen going all the way back to Trevor Siemian. All the problems, there's no offensive line support for these quarterbacks. I mean, until you get that solved, nothing else is going to resolve. You have players told about how great they are. They don't have to put in the work that needs to be put in, because John Elway put a PR machine, the one I'm listening to now, and they're making all these theories, and their solution again is quick fixes. They don't have to do anything. They're supposed to be going to the playoffs and the Super Bowl. So that's the problem with having 8 platforms, all wanting a ticket at the stadium, all want a parking pass. So they're all towing the line. Okay, our people, we get the Dove Valley comes after us because they need to go. And they know they don't want nobody to point the finger at the front office. It's apparent that the front office. There's no other way around it. So what I'm going to do, because I just don't have time to go through all this video, and just think what I gave you is almost the whole first half of the game. This is supposed to be the good half of the game for the Denver Broncos. This is supposed to be the good plays for the Denver Broncos, a good half. I haven't even gotten to the third and fourth quarter, but I'm going to rattle off the last play in the second quarter and then go through the third quarter, and I think you'll get the gist of it, but I just don't have time to go through all the film. But the bottom line is there's so much bad. It's not just any one thing. The video I left off with was Reisner getting beat. That was a 2nd and 9 with 2:42 left in the half, and the last play was a 3rd and 9, and I was going to show where Tennessee gets push up the middle. It causes Russell Wilson to throw a damn near pick. Because I wanted to emphasize, like we always do about push up the middle, it's an absolute game-changing game wrecker. Okay, let's just rattle these off. This is the third quarter. At the 15-minute mark, Wilson turns back, bad throw. Has a bad throw. 3rd and 5. And these are just pass plays, by the way. Russell Wilson holds on to the ball too long. He doesn't step up in the pocket. It's also a near INT on a Shermer ball. And I just want to say, too, is that the solution that these people have on these sports talk is always the same, too. More Shermer ball. Just send people downfield. Well, I mean, you can see the film. There's no offensive line support for that kind of an offense. You're going to have quicker, shorter routes, a mixed bag of routes to give the quarterback options, but he has to get the ball out quicker. He can't wait for these guys to go on all these go routes. All right, 2nd and 15 in the third quarter, 8 minutes and 14 seconds, O-line breakdown. 1st and 10, third quarter, 5 minutes and 15 seconds. Bad play design, 2 wide receivers on two wide receivers on a go route, and then you got 2 wide receivers near the sideline, only +1 over the line of scrimmage. So there's no way that they just run into coverage, so he can't go deep with it. And the only thing that he can do is dump the ball off to a wide receiver that's only 1 yard across the line of scrimmage, so it's a whole 1 yard game. 2nd and 9 on the third quarter, 4 minutes and 37 seconds. 3 wide receivers go out into coverage. More Shermer ball. No one to throw in the middle. The middle in both these plays are wide open. The play design, they're not sending anybody in the middle. Now, 3rd and 9, they finally think, maybe we should put somebody in the middle. 3 go on the Shermer ball go route that Wilson can't throw to. And then the receiver doing the drag route that he needs to throw to, He holds on to the ball and gets sacked. But the Titans, like every team that the Broncos play, gifts the Denver Broncos with a hold call. Titans help the Broncos first down. There's consecutive running plays after that. Broncos advance 10 more yards. And basically they go back into Shermer ball. And it's just basically a 3 and out at that point. If you think the solution is sending more receivers on go routes, this thing's never gonna get resolved. You're gonna have to get this O-line fixed. It has to become more consistent. You're never going to be able to get anything done offensively until the quarterback feels like I'm not going to get killed every time I snap the ball. That's just the bottom line of it. So that's a wrap. Again, there's going to be no quick fix for this team. Getting ahead, finding some head coach, Brian Schottenheimer. I don't even know who would even come here really. I mean, that would be entertaining all into itself to find who's dumb enough to come to this organization with that front office still intact. I just don't know who would want to put their head in the noose.